So today we're going to review topic 3, and this is who's in control. So to start this lecture, I usually ask, um, how many of you think that you are in control of your life? You feel pretty confident, secure in who you are. You feel like you've got it together. And I get mixed responses to this question. Usually by this point, a lot of students are reporting that, yeah, they feel like they're in control of their life, their decisions. Um, Oftentimes I'll get that there's different outside forces that prevent them from feeling totally in control. Sometimes it might still be parents, sometimes it's a significant other, sometimes it's school. I get that one a lot, that the confines of school and the requirements and the expectations hold them back from feeling like they're fully in control of their life at that time. So all of these things can impact how we view the control in our life. So let's take a look. Um, Please watch this video. This is an important one, so I'm not going to show it now, but this discusses internal versus external locus of control. And locus of control means how you view control in your life. So if you have an internal locus of control, it means that you view yourself as being the center of control in your life and decision making. External locus of control feels like it's outside of their control. Sometimes this may be a spiritual force, so God, Allah, whatever you believe, may be the ultimate control. A lot of times, people that have an external locus of control, it's more of a negative, kind of like the world's against me type of attitude, or um, fate already has it decided, so it doesn't really matter type of idea. So, watch this video really well. Because he gives great insight into internal versus external and how it impacts our success in life. So, going down some characteristics of external locus of control, those that believe that control is outside of them, they tend to be more susceptible to depression and anxiety and other mental health concerns because they don't feel like they have control over anything. They're also not very likely to vote. It's kind of like that attitude of, well, why should I? My vote's not going to matter anyways. It's already predetermined. It's just one vote. It doesn't even matter. They're not likely to complete school. Same idea. They're not likely to change bad habits because they feel like, this is the way it's supposed to be anyways. External locus of control tend to give up easily and not like challenges. Internal locus of control tend to be the ones that are going to be most likely to vote. They're going to believe that their voice matters and that every vote counts and that we have to have a say in our control of our government. They're likely to complete school and college because they realize that they can control their own destiny. They're willing to take action for something they believe in because they believe that standing up for something is going to bring about change. They can tend to cope better with stress and mental health challenges because they feel like they are powerful and in control of improving situations. Even after failure, they continue to try because, they feel more like, well, I learn from my mistakes and then I can improve. They meet challenges, they seek more information when needed. So just because they might be set back or face a challenge doesn't mean you just throw in the towel. It's like, okay, what can I do differently? What can I learn and educate myself with? And then because of all of this, they just tend to be more successful in life. Okay, we're going to skip this in class activity since we're not in class. And then, okay, so that was a short section for this. The important part of this part is that video. Please watch that. Okay, and then on to the next set of slides. So, explanatory styles go along with locus of control because this is how we tend to explain away situations that happen in our life. So, optimistic explanatory style people tend to have positive expectations in their life. They explain situations in a more positive outlook, where pessimistic explanatory styles tend to believe that negative things are going to happen and explain away things in it. This is more that like external locus of control type thinking of, well, I can't change anything anyways, this is the way it is. So optimistics, um, they tend to believe that what happens to us is, I feel like, okay, so optimistic explanatory styles, these people oftentimes, though, and the negative part of that is that they won't necessarily take ownership of mistakes that they've made. So they kind of tend to oversimplify situations. So, for example, if they go in for an interview and they weren't well prepared, they didn't research the company, they didn't get a good night's sleep, they didn't better prepare, then when they do bad in the interview, it's going to be much more, instead of taking ownership of where they fell short, it's going to be much more generic, like, oh, I always have bad luck in interviews, or, well, I guess this wasn't meant to be type of attitude. Which sometimes that can be good in that you're not going to dwell and it's not going to hold you back from trying again. But if you're not willing and able to take ownership of your own shortcomings, then it becomes more difficult to make improvements and do better next time, because you don't blame yourself for any areas where you could have made improvements. So on the pessimistic explanatory style, they tend to go the opposite end. So they take ownership and blame for shortcomings, whether or not it was on them or not. So if they fail the interview, even things that were outside of their control, they may take personal blame for. And this can tend to defeat them and make them not want to try again or take on other challenges. Health, happiness, and success. So, research shows that optimists, people that have a more optimistic outlook in life, tend to cope better with stress. And because of this, they tend to be healthier. So, if they are experiencing so how many of you, when you get a cold, simple cold, your throat's scratchy, you're stuffy, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I'm dying. I want to crawl in bed, throw the covers over my head. I need somebody to take care of me. I'm probably not going to make it through this. And that type of attitude. Well, research says that if you respond to physical illness that way, your immune system is actually going to be weaker and it's going to take you longer to overcome that illness than a person that says, okay, this is just a cold. I'm going to get a good night's sleep. I'm going to drink some extra vitamin C drinks and have some tea and I'll be fine in the morning. The people with that attitude, that optimistic attitude, tend to heal better and faster, and their immune systems tend to be stronger, so they tend to not get sick as often and it's not as bad. So those that are more optimistic, they also tend to be more successful in life, because when they have setbacks, it's not like this doomsday, oh, well, see, I'm a failure, I can't do anything right. Okay, so this, again, in class activities, so we're going to skip it. So going on to social learning theory. So this is a theory that starts when we are children. And this is the idea and theory. So to piggyback off that optimistic, pessimistic, how we view the world, this tends to develop using social learning theory. So what this says is that what we see, what we live, what we learn from those around us is what has the greatest impact on our thinking and our development. So it's through observational learning. So this is what, when a child is watching their parents behave, interact, communicate, and then they mimic that, that is called observational learning. So this is modeling, it's called. So if you've ever worked with children, and I always say, like, if you have ever or you ever have a chance to like watch a group of 3-year-olds especially play with each other in a group setting, it's absolutely the most hysterical thing because you'll get a direct look into how the adults in their life interact. Because those children, the way that they play is mimicking and sharing the behaviors of the role models that they see. So you'll see children in a daycare that are playing in the house area, and they will be very much mimicking the behaviors that they're seeing in their home. I always joke that there is no such thing as privacy in a family when you have a 3-year-old, because they will share everything without even realizing they're sharing it, because it's through this observational learning that they then express themselves. So, classical conditioning, many of you probably are familiar with this. This is Ivan Pavlov with his dogs. So, Ivan Pavlov did the experiment where he had dogs that he had, and what he would do is he'd ring a bell and then call the dogs forward and he would feed them. And so they quickly, this was called, so they quickly became conditioned to associate and connect the ringing of that bell to food. And so, and the one thing from the experiment that was so surprising to Pavlov was the fact that the dogs so quickly learned. So it was in such a really short amount of time that he would ring the bell and they would immediately come running expecting food. So what he started doing was taking away the food, taking away that outcome, and watching to see what their reactions would be. And even without the food, they still responded as though they were going to get food. So their tails would be wagging, they would be salivating, they would be expecting it, even when he had nothing there. And we do this even with children, so, and people in our lives and stuff, which is weird to think about. But if you've ever potty trained a child, this is something that, you know, you'll tell them, okay, if you go pee-pee on the potty, you get an M&M. And so quickly they start associating that behavior with the outcome. And so you'll have a child that like runs to the bathroom, you know, 2-year-old, 3-year-old just learning to potty train, and like pees a little drop and then is running to look for their M&M because they've been conditioned that when you do this, you receive that. Operant conditioning, this relies on cause and effect. So when it's the idea that we're going to repeat behaviors that give us a positive outcome and deter us from behaviors that are going to give a negative outcome. So in parenting, a lot of times we weigh these options. Do you give rewards for positive behaviors, or do you wait until a negative behavior happens and give a punishment? And there's various research on which is more successful. Mostly they say that experts research shows that when you're talking about parenting, that positive reinforcement is more successful. So anytime you're able to celebrate positive achievements, you're more likely to have that behavior repeated than if you're waiting until negative to punish. But there's different ideas behind that. Okay, so now that you've gotten the lectures, read through anything else that you need further explanation on, make sure to watch that video from the first section, and then complete the chapter 3 homework packet, get that submitted, and the reading assignment. And I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you on Friday for our Zoom meeting. Can't wait. Have a great week. Bye.